Many of us exclaimed, "What an order! I can't go through with it." Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. What's the point? The point is that we are willing to grow along spiritual lines. Principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter of the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make clear three pertinent ideas. A, that we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. B, that probably no human power could relieve our alcoholism. C, that God could and would if he were sought. It's from page 10 of the big book. That's the last part of how it works. I didn't go through the steps. We've gone through them a couple times, and I'll probably make videos in the future again of the steps. But that last part, in a lot of the meetings that I go to, when they read how it works, when they get to the point there that it says we are not saints, a lot of people will ask that question, what's the point? And it's just a way to get people to focus on that last part. The point is spiritual progress, not spiritual perfection. The point is willing to grow along spiritual lines. We all make mistakes. I fuck up all the time. Um, I'm far, far from perfect. This whole sobriety thing, is still a mystery to me. I understand a little bit of how it works. I know that, everything that I have is based upon my spiritual condition. When I'm not spiritually fit, the rest of my life is going to shit. That's just a fact. So, but the key word in there again is willing. That's the big thing for this whole program. And a lot of people don't get that, you know, nothing that we ask them has to be done perfectly. It's just a willingness. Willingness is the key to everything. In the book, it tells you that, willingness unlocks the door, but it can be slammed shut again the minute that I stop being willing, the minute that I start trying to impose my personal will, or I stop doing the things that are suggested to me, that door slams shut. Boom, locked. Can't go through it, can't do anything, cannot progress. But the very moment that you pick up that key of willingness again, that door swings freely open. And this is a seesaw thing in this program because you will watch people that will lose that willingness at times, and you'll see that their program starts to suffer, or their life starts to suffer, or emotionally they start to suffer. And then you'll see them pick back up that key of willingness. You'll see them become open to suggestion, and you'll watch that door just gently open. So the willingness is the thing. The whole spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. We're always trying to get better. I want to be a better Coop today than I was yesterday. um and it relates to all things. uh a little bit about me. I work with a group of guys that are um phenomenal people. um I won't tell them that. Some of them might see this and you know try to get a little big headed. um Well, the job that I work in a chemical plant, and it's a high stress situation with a lot of crap that goes on. And, we pretty much bully each other for 8.5 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week. Um, but the thing is nothing is really mean spirited. They all know that I'm a sarcastic asshole. Uh, but at the end of the day, all the guys that I work with, not just on my crew, but the other people, they all know that I'm a sober alcoholic, because I'm very open with that part of my life. Um, Not everybody is that way, and I don't encourage or expect anybody to be the way that I am. I don't encourage anybody to be the way I am, because you're fucked if you are. Um, but I've always been an open book about my struggle with addiction and my sobriety. And the nice thing is, the guys that I work with have never seen me take a drink. They don't know drunk Coop, and they don't want to know. I mean, based on, things that I've told them about my drinking career, they're perfectly fine with me being who I am, and not, drinking or drugging or doing anything like that. And it's because of my openness about my addiction. You know, before I got sober, there's a lot of people that knew I was an alcoholic, long before I did, even though, I was the guy in the bar saying, I'm not an alcoholic. Alcoholics go to meetings and I go to bars. I knew I was alcoholic. I just never would accept it because I wasn't willing to accept that there was something in my life that controlled me. And I wasn't, in control because I felt like I controlled every aspect of my life. But in reality, alcohol and drugs, they controlled my life because my next focus was always on when I get off work, I can get a drink. When I, get done doing whatever task I'm doing, I can have a drink. And I got to the point where the tasks didn't matter unless it was work. I never, one thing I could say is I never went to work drunk. I never lost a job because of my drinking, but you can bet your ass when I got off of work, that's what was going to happen. Case in point, I worked on a project building a Bass Pro Shops, and my house was a mile from the job site. There was a gas station right on the corner when you pulled off the job site that was the opposite direction of my house. And I would leave work every day and I would stop at that gas station and I would get two double deuce Miller Lights. They were my road pops. I had, got a long drive home, got to have something to drink. And I would drink those two beers in that mile to my house. And to me, that was just normal. Doesn't everybody do that? It was just, that's the way your addicted mind works. So once I became willing to accept that, hey, I'm alcoholic, my life is unmanageable, probably no human power can relieve me of this because I've tried, and that God could and would if he were sought. So, once I became willing and then I became teachable, which is a huge thing. And that's where the willingness comes in because prior to that, I was not teachable. You couldn't tell me anything when it came to my drinking or partying or anything like that because I didn't want to hear it, but the minute I became willing, I also became teachable. And that's a big thing in this program. And it's a big thing in addiction recovery is becoming teachable because not only does this program tell me not to drink, not to drug, it it gives me a guidebook for how to live a better life. You know, this program works for people that don't even have an addiction problem necessarily because it's really just an incredible guidebook on how to be a decent human being. It teaches me how to not be a piece of shit. Uh, and that's the way I've always looked at the Bible as well. Regardless of your religious affiliation or beliefs, um, the Bible is a book basically telling you how to not be a shitty human being. The Ten Commandments, those are pretty, that's pretty much the pattern for not being a piece of shit. Be a decent human being. Um, my relationship with my higher power is complicated. Um, but I do have one, and it's because of my willingness, so what's the point? The point is we are willing to grow along spiritual lines. So every day I try to be a little better person. I'm open to, suggestions given to me by people in the program that are smarter than me. And that doesn't mean people necessarily with long-term sobriety. I've learned a lot from people with short sobriety. You know, I told a story in one of the videos about my first lead being for a gentleman named Ford, God rest his soul. At the time, I didn't know how new he was. And then I found out a few weeks later at his very first lead, he only had a year sober. Um, but something that he said in his lead was so powerful to me that when I talked to him after the meeting and I asked him a question, how are you this honest about this topic? How can you say in a room full of strangers, this is what happened? And he told me, he said, I have to. I have to be honest. That's part of this program. I have to be completely honest. I have to be willing to share my story. So just remember that, all we're trying to do is teach you to live a better life. If you're willing to accept a few suggestions, your life will improve tenfold. That's a promise that's given to us in the book, and it happens. It's just like when it talks about the promises in the books. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but always if we work for them. So, what's the point? The point is, don't drink, go to meetings. Try and stay sober today. I love you all. Have a great day.